me know that you're ungrateful.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
When you don't, let me put it this way, when you don't appreciate the food that God puts on the table for you, you complain. We don't know how to tell God thank you. If it's a bologna sandwich and some bread, you ought to be thankful because somebody don't have what you got. Israel's problem was Israel was at the Red Sea. And after God had killed the Egyptians and brought them safely to the Red Sea because of a little adversity, because of a little circumstances, they began to murmur and complain. Well, you need to tell somebody, I was made for adversity. I was made for circumstances because the God I serve equipped me to deal with whatever I'm going through. Let me throw it to you this way. If he put me in it, he can get me out of it. If he allowed me to get in this situation, there is no temptation taking me such as common unto man that God won't make a way for me to escape. If God puts me in it, if God lets me get in it, God will take me out of it. That's why you ought not curse your circumstances and your situation. You ought not talk about how big your obstacle is. You ought to show your obstacle how big your God is. There is nothing that my God cannot do. There is no storm that he cannot calm. There is no situation he cannot handle. There is no sickness he cannot heal. There is no problem he cannot solve. There is no demon he can't stop. If God is on my side, if I just obey him, he'll hold me together. He'll hold me together. But Israel got to the Red Sea and complained. How many of us in here, God has blessed you to get to the 25th of October and you still complain about what you don't have, about what you used to have, about who walked out of your life? Well, beloved, the folk that walked out of your life should have walked out. Instead of you not sleeping and being up crying all night, you ought to thank God that they left and give God praise, because maybe God is opening the door for who's supposed to be in your life to come on in. Instead of complaining, learn to thank God. Because we try to hold on to the stuff that God is trying to break away from.
All right, now come on.
Started murmuring and complaining. I don't like being around folk that complain all the time. Because what they'll do is they'll bring your spirit down. They're complaining about what they ain't got and how no good their husband is. And how good their children are. Well, if anybody in your, it might not be your husband, it might not be your children, it's probably you. Israel had to remember that they were to represent God in the earth. Now here's the ticket here. If they're supposed to represent God in the earth and they're complaining, and their God is strong and mighty, and their God made the sea and the land and all that there is, and his children are complaining, then what does that say to the other nations about how good their God actually is? Makes you wonder how reliable their God is. If all you can get out of the saints is woes and wees, then what is your God really all about? If every time you walk up on a saint and they would have nothing good to say, what is that saying about the God that you serve? Here's one. Only about 4 or 5 points and I'm done. He says, he wants us to know that remember the past. He told that Moses told 12 men to go and spy out the land that God had promised you. Number one, when God promises you something, it's yours.
Yes, sir.
You don't have to debate about it. You don't have to wonder about it. When God has promised you something, it's yours. It reminds me of the story when Jesus said, let's go over to the other side. He didn't say they were going to die. He said, let's go over. So if God speaks something in your life, it's going to come to pass. You don't have to worry about the circumstances in between. You can't die until destiny is fulfilled in your life. I don't care who plotted against you. I don't care who don't like you. If God say you're going to have this at this appointed time, then all you got to do is grab a bag of chips, sit down and wait on it, baby. Because if God says it's going to come to pass, I don't care what devil don't like it. He's just going to have to wait on you.
Amen.
The past. You got to remember the past. I know we don't want to remember yesterday, but in order to appreciate today, you got to look where you come from. The 12 men went out and spied into the land, and Moses told them to bring some fruit from the land so we can remember. And when the 12 came back, 10 of them had an evil report. And only 2 of them had a good report. You've got to understand the story, because when God says, I need you to go over and spy out the land to see what you're getting, you're going in to see what I'm getting ready to bless you with. How you gonna get it, that ain't your business. All you need to understand is I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna bless you with it. How you get it, that ain't yours to understand. He says, I'm giving it to you. He says, today I set before you an open door. How the door got open, that ain't yours to figure out. All you need to do is go and walk through the door. So they go, and it was 12 of them, but 10 came back with the evil report. You got to watch your mouth. Proverbs 10 and 11 says, the mouth of the righteous is a well of life, but violence covers the mouth of the wicked. When God speaks something in your life, you can't let circumstances and situations dictate what God has already spoken. Because if God said it, he's God enough to say it, and he's God enough to fulfill it. And Mother Sims, listen, he knows what obstacles are going to get you from here to there. He knows what's all in between. But we've got to have enough faith to know if God says, I'm going to get from here to there, whatever's in between don't even matter. So the 10 spoke evil against God. God said, I'm going to give it to you. But it was small-minded men who said, we can't do that. Forget what God said we can do. It was 10 men that said, we can't do that. You got some folk in church today saying, we can't do that. What you mean the Church of the Living God can't do that? There's nothing in this Bible that says that we can't do that. All we can do is trust in what God says. The Bible says this morning in the Sunday school lesson that with men it's impossible. But with God, all things are possible. You are yourself, you are nothing. But when you got God on your side, you can make it. These 12 men, but let me skip the 12, these 10 men. 10 men caused the whole nation to get wiped out. 10 men, this is why you need to watch your mouth. Because 10 men caused a whole nation, a whole generation to get wiped out because of unbelief. When you don't believe what God says, God will wipe you out. Proverbs 13 and 3 says, he who guards his lip saves his life, but he who speaks rashly will come to ruin.